Ladies and gentlemen, two-time world champion singers, honoring singers and songmakers, the Northern Street Singers. Good job.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Great Turtle Island, everyone. I'm your host, Thomas, and today my co-host is Gerald Whitehorse Standing of the Cree Nation. Gerald, are you there?
Yes, I am, Tom, and thank you again, and it's always a pleasure to be on your show. So before we begin, greetings from the Creator with the four directions, north, east, south, and west, to our brothers and sisters here on the Great Turtle Island, whether they be red, yellow, black, or white, We all belong to the family of the Creator according to the law of one. So, without any further ado, go ahead and introduce your guest here, my friend, and greetings from my family also.
All right, and today my guest is White Wolf. And if you look in the description on the chat, you will see the link to his website. Beyond that, I'm going to shut up and welcome White Wolf to the show and let him tell everybody, because the guest always does a better job of telling about themselves than I do. So, welcome to the show, White Wolf.
Thank you, Thomas. It is good to be here. Boy, talking about myself. What is there to tell? I live in Vermont, and I have a wilderness living and wilderness survival school that is called Ways of the Wild Institute. And here in Vermont, I teach at this institute year-round in all 4 seasons. And I guess what I'll do is just touch on the school, and then maybe we'll kind of backtrack a little bit. But the main focus of my school has 3 areas. One is awareness. And my childhood teacher by the name of Michgalain, he was Lenape, and he always told me that awareness was the key to everything you do in life. And the quality of everything that we do in life will depend upon our quality of awareness, both external awareness, which I call wilderness awareness, and internal awareness, which I call self-awareness. And this is awareness on both physical and non-physical levels of reality. And so I have a large part of my school based upon awareness skills and assisting people along their own paths, no matter where they are in life, in learning how to acquire and utilize awareness skills along their sacred path. The second area of focus is wilderness studies. And I have quite a few courses where I deal with survival skills, again, on all levels, physical and non-physical, both wilderness survival as well as urban survival. I also teach wilderness living skills, and this comes down to the balance of self and life, and learning how to tap into the energies of everything naturally existing underneath the Great Spirit, and making the connection between it and self, and understanding that there is no such thing as separation or abandonment. It is simply the awareness or the lack of awareness that makes us feel like we are connected or that we are not connected. And so this is a very hands-on part of the school. I take people out in all 4 seasons and teach them how to live with the land, how to commune with the land, and how to allow their interactions, their connections with land, to open themselves to the deepest aspects of their own spiritual reality. And the third area of the school is all based on healing. And this, of course, is the healing of self, family, community, earth. This is healing the body, the mind, the spirit, the emotional aspects, and dealing with what Michgalain would call the medicine ways. And so, really, this is, in a nutshell, the base principles of Ways of the Wild Institute. And I've, like I have a couple times now. I have mentioned Michgelain. I met Michgelain when I was 9 winters old. I was living in the Appalachians of Pennsylvania. And Michgelain had been living his entire life in the old ways of his people. He spent his entire life living outdoors in the wilderness areas of this country. He traveled by foot throughout the United States, through Canada, all the way down through Mexico. His life was one long vision quest. And when I met him, he was 86 winters old. And I trained under him in the natural ways of life for about 10 years. And during these 10 years, he taught me his philosophies, his principles, his skills, his understandings of this reality. And they were so familiar to me, so commonplace in my own mind and heart, that I adopted those ways very easily. And it was not a struggle to bring them into all areas of my existence. And it was at that time I realized that these connections were much older than the earth walk I travel now, that they span simultaneous lives and tap into other lives that I have walked upon this earth. I myself am not Native American in the context of an Aboriginal bloodline of this country. Of course, I was born and raised in America, but I am actually half Swiss and Irish. My connections to the native ways are in my heart, not in my blood. And as I was always taught when I was young, Alan Kumankwa, we are all related. It does not matter what color we are. It does not matter what culture we come from. We are all a part of the human race upon this earth, and therefore we are all connected. So you walk whatever path fits you best. So I really owe the majority of my wilderness skills and abilities to my childhood teachings through Michgelain. However, I was born in a military hospital in New Jersey, of all places. And because of my genetics, my family background, and my skill set that I was learning as a child, I was brought into the Central Intelligence Agency, a training program through a branch division of the Central Intelligence Agency called SOES, or Shadow Operations Extermination Squad Division 10, to be exact and precise, when I was 16 years old. I spent 3 years in this training program, being trained by the Central Intelligence Agency and on the greater context, what is known as the central government, the government that is in control of and runs all government factions in all countries around the globe. After my graduation of that training program, I then spent 13 years utilizing the skills I was trained in for the central government, until such a time where I decided that I needed to get out. And when I attempted to get out, I was poisoned, and I almost died. And this was in the year of 2005. Not too long ago, I spent the entire winter in bed, eating very little. I am not a big person as it is, but in the first 2 weeks of the poisoning, I lost 15 pounds. And it was during that winter that I was able to do nothing else but go within. And there I made a reconnection to the childhood teachings of Michgaling, the spiritual aspects, the deeper healing aspects. And I found my path once again. And I began utilizing those techniques and allowing them to blossom inside me during that winter and that spring. And then the 3 very long years following of extremely intense healing pathways. And it was the strength that I found in myself and those techniques, those ways of life that I was taught as a child, that I give credit for being alive today. If I did not have those techniques, that way of life to tap into, the understanding and the training that I gained as a child, I am about 100% sure that I would not have made it through the healing process. And so here I am today. I wrote a book on all of those experiences called Shadow Scorpion, Memoirs of an Assassin. It is a non-fiction book. My life story is in that book, and I had to self-publish it because no publisher would touch it because of the content, because they wanted me to turn it fiction, and I refused to do that. Throughout my life, it has been a very set-in-stone ideal that truth is the balanced path. And so I could not write a non-fiction book about my life because my life is not non-fiction, or not fiction, rather. And so I guess about 4 years ago is when I opened my school, and I have been teaching ever since.
Could I stop you and ask a question?
Absolutely.
Now, this Memoirs of an Assassin, can you detail that a little bit for us? Give us a little more insight on that.
Yes. Let's see. I guess I began writing that book many years ago when I started to have a greater understanding as to what I was doing in my life with the government. And I started a journal. And I kept this journal hidden wherever I happened to be at the time. Sometimes I would put it in safe deposit boxes. Sometimes I would bury it in a plastic bag in the forest. But I continued to write in this over a number of years, and I started to put together memories, events, dates, names, social security numbers, addresses, phone numbers, license plates, on and on. And eventually I got enough information together that I could really understand how to put all of those experiences from my training and from my 13 years of work into one writing work.
Are you able to talk about some of those things that you did or remember?
Yes. Well, I tell you, it's all in my book, and I've sold the book through about 27 countries now, so I hope I'm able to talk about it.
Okay.
When I was 16 and I was brought into the training facility, the training facility was in Maryland, so it was very close to where I was living at the time. And the training facility was in Deep Creek, and it was a military compound that also had underground bases.
Okay.
And so the training facility was all in this location, and it had connections to Montauk Point. It had connections to Fort Indiantown Gap, which is in Pennsylvania, northeast of Harrisburg. It had connections to Little Creek, Naval Amphibious Base. It also had connections to Deep Creek Lake, which is in western Maryland. There was many connections to this base and this facility. And the main purpose of this facility was to train individuals that had been monitored by the government and singled out because of their mindsets, their mind patterns, because of their family background, because of their genetics, and because of their skill sets that they learned and were very good at in life. That means they could have come out of the military, they could have come out of other government branches, and they could have also been civilians like myself. And through the 3 years of training in this facility, they taught us the arts of assassination. And once, and this training facility, it was probably one of the worst spans of my entire life. It was absolute hell. Because in the training facility, they not only taught you how to do the techniques, how to kill, but you also did it. So by the time you actually graduated and got into the working field, you had already taken life.
That has me wanting to ask you another question, just to defer for a moment.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Dave Corso?
No.
What about Duncan O'Finian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Dave Corso was the first generation of what you're talking about, going back to post-World War II. He was, and he was known as the best sniper in Vietnam, but that's not all he did while he was there, or after Vietnam. And Duncan O'Finian, I've had some contact with him and talked with him, so I don't think it's a coincidence that I'm interviewing you on my show right now. You make the third person I've had on the show talking about this very same thing.
3 is a good number.
Yes, it is.
Yes, Duncan was trained more in the lines of the super soldier programming. And so his training and his purpose was a bit different than mine. Shadow Operations Extermination Squad was this was a Homeland Assassination Division, which was considered a branch division of the Central Intelligence Agency. Therefore, its funding was filtered through outside agencies. It was not actually a direct connection to the Central Intelligence Agency. So the Central Intelligence Agency could easily run this division without having to answer questions on, where these funds are going to. Which is what, that's how all of these elite and shadowy operations, that's how they work. That's how they're able to do what they do. Of course, now with the Homeland Security Act, they can do anything they want to, and nobody can really say anything other. But yes, this is very real. This has been going on since ancient Persia, where they had the Assassins cult, and it still goes on today. But the Homeland Assassination Division covered Canada, United States, Mexico, and Central America. I had 2 different assignments in Central America. One was in Honduras, and the other one was in Nicaragua. I have had assignments all over the United States. I've been through 48 states. I have had assignments in different areas of Canada as well. I had an assignment on Maui. I've also been in Alaska. But it's not the super soldier. Okay, it's a different type of programming. This was hands-on, close-quarter assassination assignments. These were invisible assignments that mostly took place, the majority of our assignments took place outdoors. They were not in urban settings. They were targeting individuals who were trying to travel across country through trail systems. They were being dropped off at remote airstrips, and then they were traveling on foot or by dirt road travel to where they would hook up with other contacts, etc., etc. These were individuals who were accessing underground military bases in very remote areas of the country. Occasionally, we would be brought into urban situations. It depended upon what they had at any given time. But in 2005, an early part of 2005, they began to dismantle Division 10 because they decided it was not financially feasible to have such a specialty unit when they could easily roll over those aspects of training into a more well-rounded unit that could be utilized on all terrains. And so that's what they were in the process of doing in early 2005. And of course, in the training facility, the way they get you to do these things, okay, because you're not there by choice.
Right.
Now, yes, some of these individuals who they, brought in from the military divisions, they were there by choice. But there were also quite a few of us who were there not by choice. We were brought there because that is what they had planned for us. And they would put us through what was known as the breaking period. So once we were brought to the training facility, we would undergo a time frame of torture. And
this is because split personalities, or?
Well, what it does, the torture is meant to break down the mind to where the mind has to separate from itself. It has to begin compartmentalizing all aspects of itself in order to deal with the reality of the now, of what's happening to the body and the mind. Okay, it cannot deal with ongoing torture and still remain
White
whole.
Wolf,
Yes.
in the mind control based on trauma, the people in the CIA knew that the body would protect the mind, so they would develop what they call an amnesia wall. And
Yes.
during that period, when the body went through that process, this is where they brought in that program. Am I correct in that
Exactly.
assessment?
Yes, you are exactly correct. They would create energetic barriers or walls in the mind. And the mind can be broken into well over 2,000 different compartments. I believe it's like 2,197 compartments. And if the mind is broken, you can create an energetic wall or an amnesia wall that separates the different areas of the mind. Each area of the mind is then assigned what is known as triggers. Triggers can be anything from sound, color, music, it can be number associations, it can be designs, it can be dates, events, whatever. It can be anything. Each sectioned area of the mind is assigned triggers. When those triggers are utilized, it activates that aspect of the mind and brings that aspect of the mind into the consciousness. Whatever that aspect of the mind is, it can be programmed to do specific tasks. Without
in other
the
words,
other areas,
developing an alter ego.
yes. The other areas of the mind are unaware of it then, because of the wall between.
Yeah.
So you can be triggered into an altered state. You can go about certain assignments. You can be triggered back into another state of consciousness and not remember the details of what just happened.
So this is
Well,
where a lot of people lost track of time in their own true personality.
Yes. But they're all... Yes.
I just want to say that this is to say the least, a fascinating discussion, what you're telling all of us, and I'm definitely going to have to invite you and have you back to the show again so that you can tell us more. But we still have a little time left here. Another 30 minutes, I think you have. How long before you have to go?
I can be on here till 5. That is fine.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of the way because that's what I do best, and let Gerald go back to what he was asking. Gerald?
Yeah, the thing that I'm quite interested in what you're talking about, White Wolf, the indigenous people here, when the Europeans arrived, did they use the same techniques in mind control in what you're talking about in the past? Like, what I'm talking about is that overt activity coming into covert activity. Like, overt is the military action against us as First Nations people, into covert, which is a black ops. Could you explain that a little more, so that...
Sure.
Go right ahead, sir.
The mind control itself is extremely old. Okay, it goes way back prior to the Persian Empire, and if you believe in it, it actually goes prior to that and off-world. Meech Ghislaine would talk many times about his people coming from the stars,
Yes.
and not originating here on the earth. However, mind control has dramatically advanced with the rise of technology. And after World War II, it became rampant globally because of the technological rise.
Hold that thought for a moment.
Yes.
You explain something about the journey within as opposed to technology that they developed. So the answer to all our dilemma is a journey within. But they have this technology, and the technology is via mind control, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But if we go back to the time when the Europeans came to this country, this Turtle Island, they didn't have, per se, mind control as we have today. Instead, they had covert tactics, very brilliant, I'm not saying beneficial in any way, but brilliant strategic tactics on how to manipulate an entire culture or an entire country of people. And the way they did this was to study how these people worked, how they lived. They realized that native people of this country lived in tight-knit circular communities. They relied upon a tribal system. So what they realized is that if they could go in, it's much like the mind. The mind relies on interaction with every aspect of itself, just like the spirit. If you can go in, like with a knife, for a practical example, if you were to take a knife and drive it into something, you create separation. If you can create tactical strategies to infiltrate the tribal circle and create dissension and division inside it, then you win, because there is no more tight-knit communication. There is no more society. There is no more family. There is division, confusion, and then all of the non-beneficial aspects of the human being, guilt, greed, anger, on and on and on, become prevalent. And this is where addictions come in, because now we need to fill that empty space of family. And so many people reach out for addictions. And this is what the Europeans understood as well. We divide the tribes. We know that they will be looking for something to fill that, and so we will then give them something to get addicted to.
Yes.
And that is why they brought in the alcohol, for example.
Yeah, and the alcohol was mixed with opium, is my understanding.
Among other things, yes.
Yes, of course. So go on.
Yes. And so this has advanced to a global, this happened to all Aboriginal peoples worldwide. It doesn't matter if it was here. It doesn't matter if it was in Mexico or Central America. It doesn't matter South America, Africa. It doesn't matter if it was in Australia. It has happened all over the world. And the same strategy has been used because it works.
Yes, so that means then that is part of their agenda. And you
Yes.
mentioned something about your spiritual teacher. They said that he came from the star systems. So in this case, according to our ancient teachings, if I can say it in this way, the fallen angels, what they call the Anunnaki, they came from the star system of Draconia.
Yes.
So go on and...
And Draconia, Draconia was neighbors with the Lyrian star system.
Yes.
As it is told, and the Draconians did not like the Lyrians. The Draconians were more reptilian-based in their mind patterns, which means they were very aggressive and dominating. Whereas
Okay,
the
on that
Lyrians,
aspect, White Wolf, could
Yes.
you explain to the listeners about the journey within, and in particular what they call the reptilian brain within our own bodies? And
Yes.
Also, in your mind control, talk about the left brain hemisphere.
The human brain is actually a hybrid brain. It is part reptilian and part mammalian. Okay? Now this right there should show us that we are a hybrid species. No other creature on this planet has a hybrid brain, of which there is reptilian and mammalian combined in the same skull. However, we have that. We have a reptilian brain stem rising up and supporting a mammalian brain. This automatically creates internal conflict because the reptilian brain is dominant and aggressive. It is individual, but individual meaning that it remains separate physically, but connected to what is known as a hive mind mentality. Therefore, it is very difficult for it to tap into individualistic mindsets. Whereas the mammalian brain is more family-oriented, it is more pack-oriented, and it is also much less aggressive, more nurturing and caring. Now, when you put these two aspects into the same brain, into the same species, you automatically get conflict from birth, because these two energies of the body, of the mind, are continually working against each other in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we work with mind control, we utilize that. Okay? Mind control is about breaking the individual down so that they will submit to a group or hive mind mentality. Now, we utilize the left aspect of the brain to do this, because the left aspect of the brain is let's back up. The right aspect of the brain. Nope, let's go back. Left aspect of the brain.
Hey, the right side of the brain has to deal with dreams and visions. So the left
the left
brain
side is
deal with analytical.
Right, the logistics. And so if we get people to reside solely in the left part of the mind, they're easier to control because it is harder for people living in the left aspect of the mind to tap into their own spiritual reality and the higher connections that we all have within our spiritual beings, within our mind patterns. If people are allowed to access the right side of the brain, they are able to tap into the higher aspects of self. They are able to tap into the energy of the Great Spirit and the dream state of where we can be guided to higher aspects, higher frequencies of our own beings.
Yeah,
and
you
so we
mentioned,
need
White Wolf, the knife effect. So
Yes.
in between the left and right brain hemisphere, there is a dividing line, so to speak. It's called the supracolosum. So
Yes.
they divided that with a knife effect, did they not, in mind control?
Well, what sits between the right and left areas of the brain is called the pineal gland.
Yes.
And the pineal gland is the gland that actually balances the
Yes.
right and the left hemispheres. What they do is they try to dominate, okay, the frequency resonation of the mammalian pineal gland can actually be viewed as royal blue.
Right.
The reptilian frequency of the pineal gland can actually be viewed as navy blue. So what they do in mind control is they go into the pineal gland and they try to change the frequency from royal blue to navy blue, and they try to lock the pineal gland into that frequency, which helps to then imbalance the brain, seal off the right side, and enhance and activate the left side.
That brings up an interesting question in my little head. Are they transmitting frequencies to do that with from Montauk and other places all
Yes.
the time?
They are actually transmitting these frequencies through satellites and
Okay.
all of your electronic technologies today. Your cell phones, your landlines, your computers, your hair dryers, your outlets, your cars, radio towers, cell towers, microwave things, everything. All of this stuff is emitting these frequencies, and they have full control of what frequencies are emitted and to what areas of the earth, as well as individual. They can actually target individuals with these frequencies. The technology is so advanced.
On that note, White Wolf, you're probably quite familiar with Kathy O'Brien and Mark Phillips.
Yes.
And Kathy O'Brien was a monarch slave, and Mark Phillips was an operative within the special intelligence, and he seemed to both of them seem to have access to the information that you're discussing. And one of the things that they pointed out is these towers. And could you point out to the people that are listening regarding the why they use these towers and everything that you mentioned, and how it plays a part on a human psychic?
Yes. Today there are a lot of discussions and controversial arguments about cell towers, for example. Okay, one of many towers that are out there. Cell towers are going up by the thousands all over the country. And people in the local areas where the cell towers are erected are saying, well, we don't want them because they emit radiation and this is bad. Well, believe it or not, the computer that most people sit at emits more radiation than the cell tower does. That is not the danger of the cell tower. The danger of the cell tower is that they can be utilized as a web, okay, a physical grid by satellite frequency to spread specific frequencies all over the entire country, wherever the cell towers happen to be. They create an energetic web, and this web can be utilized to, one, either send out specific frequencies in order to disrupt people's natural state of mental thinking, of their emotional aspects of feeling. They can also be sent out to create storms. A lot of the supercell storms we see today are created by what is known as extra low frequency, which is being emitted from satellites, which travels across the cell tower grid and radio tower grid and can enhance the weather patterns in any given area to such a point that tornadoes, hurricanes, or massive tropical storms are created.
So,
They can
right.
also be tapped into the HARP technology. Yes.
Very good. That's the question I was going to lead you towards, is ELF, E-L-F,
Yes.
the low frequency. So that's what they developed in this HARP up in Alaska. And is there any other HARP machines anywhere in the world that they're using?
Yes, absolutely. There are a few. You remember the earthquake that struck Haiti a couple of years ago, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, there is a HARP technological base right near Haiti.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, it's southwest of Haiti.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there is a HARP technology base there, and that HARP technology base was actually the one responsible primarily for the creation of that earthquake. So yes, they are around the world.
So in other words, these HARP machines that they've developed and they made and they created is to develop an artificial atmosphere to try and stop the sun rays from actually entering into our atmosphere, right?
That, and also they claim that it is to intercept. They're there for a couple of reasons. Okay, one is the sun rays, like you mentioned. Another is to intercept and intensify or enhance extraterrestrial communication.
Yes.
And the other one is also obviously to use for weather control, climate control. And the other one is being used, the other aspect of it is being used to try to enhance interdimensional interaction, which is also why the one reason Japan had the radiation disaster that they had last year. Because radiation thins the energetic levels that separate interdimensional realities.
Right.
The more radiation we have here, the harder it is to keep interdimensional realities separated from each other.
The question I have, someone in the chat room asked, the people you worked with, do they cast a human shadow, or are they shadowless?
Oh, they're very much real, flesh and blood.
All right.
Yes.
The question I have for you is, these things that they're doing, are they receiving or having a more difficult time in continuing to do these things?
There is a lot of interference right now. There are a lot of groups and organizations on this world as well as off-world that are working against the global agendas at this time.
Yes.
This is actually one of the only reasons that I have been able to come out and write and publish my book and come forward publicly and speak about this stuff. Because there are other organizations that are extremely powerful in their own right that are trying to undermine the global agendas. However, since most of the world has been lulled into following along with the global agendas, it is a very difficult and time-sensitive project in altering these global agendas at this time, because they're moving forward at such a rapid rate, and so many people are following along with it.
Yes. Gosh. So, a question I wanted to ask you, and I'm fumbling with my tongue at this point because I'm actually thinking, and that's dangerous for me. On August 22nd and 23rd, there was an earthquake in Colorado and then an earthquake in Virginia. And I've looked at the seismograph data, and there's a lot of people that make claims about what happened. But just looking at the data that we can see, us out here on the surface can see, I'll just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Those seismograph readings do not match any earthquake in recorded history. What they match identically is underground nuclear tests done by North Korea in 2006 and 2000. Do you have any information about that?
Yes. In this country alone, okay, just in the United States, there are over, I believe at this point in time, this exact day, there are over 325 underground military bases that are used for everything from weapons testing, genetic manipulation experiments, extraterrestrial communications, technological advancements, on and on and on. And they are throughout this country, over 325. There are many of the bases that are continually digging, and they are digging, and these sites that are continually digging actually create explosions. And a lot of these explosions, depending on their depth, can trigger what on the surface to be what is felt as an earthquake. Okay, so it feels like an earthquake to the people, but when you look at the seismograph data, you're right, it doesn't register as an earthquake. It registers as an explosion. And that's exactly what happened under Virginia, and that's exactly what happened under Colorado in August of this year. They were not earthquakes. They were underground explosions. And yes, we do underground weapons tests all the time. That was one of the big reasons we had the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War, just like any war that we have had in the modern age, has been about advanced weapons testing, okay? Advanced weapons technology. We use these war grounds as advanced weapon testing grounds. In Vietnam, we were testing burrowing nuclear weapons. Okay, these were actually, and I actually saw one. They were missile-looking contraptions that actually burrowed into the earth, and they actually had longitude, latitude, blah blah blah. They could actually go to a specific point before detonating. This is where the symptoms came about, called Agent Orange. Okay, Agent Orange. If you look at the data, and we were shown the data when I was in Little Creek, and during my time in Little Creek, which is a naval amphibious naval base, I was actually working and training at the time with the Navy SEALs. I was placed there by the DAA. And we were shown data on the people who had this Agent Orange symptom, okay? And the data matched exactly to radiation sickness. And they were telling us, they were showing us reports from Vietnam that that's exactly what was happening. It wasn't from chemical sprays. I mean, yes, the chemical sprays helped enhance the effects in the body, but what lasted in these soldiers in Vietnam and plagued them throughout their lives was not what was being sprayed. It was what was coming up from underground, from nuclear detonation.
So they could theoretically have one of these devices burrow to major cities in other countries and detonate them and take out massive amounts of people with no surface explosion at all.
Exactly.
Okay.
Of course, they're far past that. I mean, you know, the weapons they have today, you know, make the weapons that they were testing in Vietnam, you know, look like, you know, the aircraft in World War I.
Okay.
So White Wolf, yeah, I'm curious about on the subject right now that we're talking about, and you touched something about the pineal gland and what they're doing to try and suppress the activation of it is fluoride and chlorine, and
yes.
Just to go on the other way is the Star People and the Galactic Federation, and Tom talked about this on many a radio program about the Creator's law of free will, And from my understanding is the Galactic Federation cannot interfere with our spiritual evolution. And so with everything leading up towards exactly what you're talking about in these covert activities that they're carrying out, one thing that I'm particularly interested in is racial profiling. And I understand that you said that you were Swiss and Irish.
Yes.
Are you quite familiar with Michael Tessarian's material?
No.
Well, according to him and the ancient records that he has, when you look at the lost continent of Atlantis,
Yep.
and this is where the people have surmised and I guess kind of assumed that the Atlantis people were occupied by the star people from Draconia, and as an opposition to the lost continent of Mo. So
Right, Lemuria.
Lemuria, yes. And so at the beginning, and bring it fast forward, what was started at the beginning in this war in heaven, so to speak, with the fallen angels and the good angels, Creator, and of course what they call Lucifer, is this great battle. And with talking about racial profiling, and so according to Michael Tessarian, when Atlantis was sinking, before Atlantis was sinking, there was a group of people that came from Atlantis and settled into Ireland. As a consequence and as a result, the Irish people and their bloodline, they're saying that it's somehow connected to Atlantis. And Switzerland, because you're Swiss, according to the ancient teachings, that is a spiritual center of the white people, is Switzerland. So when you said that a lot of people were picked out, is that in essence exactly why you were picked out, because of your racial profiling matched the bloodline and the capability of that into regarding to train you as an assassin?
Partially so, yes. My Irish bloodline is from the Black Irish, and the Black Irish come from the Pict people. And the Pict people...
Yeah, go ahead.
And the Pict people, yes, they were descendants of the Atlantean races. After Atlantis sank and the population of Atlantis spread out, the population from Atlantis that went to the Irish area were what is today known as the Black Irish. So yes, there is direct connections there. As far as the Swiss go, Switzerland is today one of the major areas of the world that hold bases for the Fourth Reich. Okay? This is why in World War II they were left untouched, because secretly behind the scenes they were all for the Third Reich and what was going on. Okay? They were going to make a lot of money off of it, and they themselves were, they may as well have been Nazis themselves.
Okay.
And the Fourth Reich is rising again today, and we can see this. They are actually, they have major influences in the Middle East right now. If you do some research, you will find the skinhead factions rising all over Europe and the Middle East even. And so Switzerland has a very direct connection to the Fourth Reich, and I have what is known as the Fourth Reich programming.
Okay.
And so this is because it is in my genetics, and so this is one of the main reasons, there are many, that yes, the racial profiling, as you call it, was utilized for those two reasons.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, the angel of death that Hitler utilized and had was Joseph Mengele, and he was prominent in in that regard, right?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
the experiments that he did specifically on twins.
Yes.
So didn't he, in effect, do that racial profiling? Because after, when supposedly that Nazism is supposed to be defeated, but I don't think so. But he was sent on all the people from the Nazi Third Reich were sent to the United States in different parts of the world in what they called angel paperclip. And
That's right.
Mengele was.
Paperclip.
Pardon me?
I said yes. That's absolutely right. Project Paperclip.
So, in other words, the activity what Hitler started is essence very much alive and well now, as you explained. Could you expand on that a little more?
Yes, all the Nazi scientists that were not eliminated at the end of World War II were actually brought to the United States by OSS and, of course, CIA today, and they were put to work for our government to continue their projects because our country was so amazed at what they were achieving. That's what the concentration camps were for. They were mind-controlled testing grounds, okay? And, the baseline mind control projects that we have today, okay, well, actually, the highly advanced mind control projects we have today came from the baseline projects of World War II and what Hitler was doing. And so, yes, these scientists and all their research and paperwork came to the United States, one country. Okay, they did spread out to other countries as well, but the bulk of them came to the United States and were continued. They continued their work. Okay, our government told them, yes, you're doing great work, keep going, and we want to utilize this. We want to use this on the world. We want to use this on the global population. And that is where the central government comes in. This is no longer about countries. This is about global dominion. There's another guy in San Francisco, was in San Francisco, called Colonel Michael Aquino. You can look him up. He was the creator of the sleepers.
Yeah, the Temple of Set.
Can I interrupt just for a moment?
Yes.
The Temple of Set. We'll come back to that. Can you please detail for us, because we've got a person in the room that says HARP is not a weapon, and I'm sure that you can detail some information for us on just exactly what it does. I've worked with transmitters before, and so I know what they're capable of, and these things are putting out, what, 1 billion watts or more?
Yeah, HARP itself, you're correct. HARP itself is not a weapon. HARP is a transmitter that fuels weapons technology around the world. Okay, it is tapped into a frequency network grid that covers the Earth right now. Partially, this actually thanks to Reagan during the 80s and Star Wars, putting up all the satellites. And today, the amount of satellites that circle the globe is absolutely incredible, mind-boggling. But this creates a grid, and then we have a ground grid of all the towers that are in place, and then we have the HARP, okay, which is basically just a transmitter, okay. It intensifies frequency and can direct it, and this is part of this this weapons grid. Okay, it's not a weapon in itself. It actually is utilized to fuel weapons technology located around the globe.
Okay.
I hope that clarifies it.
Okay, I just want to say from my own experience working with ham radios and the like, especially with directional antennas, I was helping someone tune or get the SWR ratio down on a directional antenna, and he was pumping 2,000 watts radio frequency through it, which amplified to 21,000 watts from the antenna, and a mockingbird landed on the antenna as he pressed the transmitter, and it killed the mockingbird instantly. So transmissions can be used as a weapon. I mean, they fuel other weapons, but they can also be used as a weapon as well.
Sure.
Okay,
Frequency
on that
itself
note,
can be used as a
gentlemen,
weapon.
let us discuss things about the cathedrals and the buildings that they constructed on major points on the Earth grid. And so when they built these buildings, and these buildings were built by the Masonic Lodge, so to speak, and they're the ones that specialize in this, reading exactly what you're talking about there, White Wolf, is that in essence, I guess, and what you were talking about, Tom, is these transmitters. Do you find that the reasoning behind building these cathedrals and also these buildings on major points of the Earth grid is that they utilize that power source so that they can control people inside of the buildings?
Partially so. Some of them, yes. Some of them were used simply as ritual intensifiers, so specific rituals that were performed inside of those locations would then be able to more easily tap into the non-physical realities, tap into the astral planes of existence. But the majority of the buildings that you're talking about, strategically placed upon, specific latitude, longitude lines across the Earth, are connected to global grids as well, and they're used to they're used for a number of reasons, one of which is not really mind control, but has more to do with extraterrestrial communications and off-world, so to speak, communications, and being able to tap into the non-physical realities of the astral plane, and to enhance those interactions, and also some of them can be utilized to manipulate those interactions.
So in other words, to manipulate the reptilian brain and to access the left side of the brain so that, I guess, yes, it does play a part in mind control on that aspect. But do you find that since all of these things, they do it on a gradual basis, piece by piece, year by year by year, and introducing technology? Because what I'm told is that the technology that they have is about 100 to 200 years ahead of us.
It's more like 1,000 years ahead of us.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, at this time. But you're right, they bring it up slowly. And they introduce it to the public nowadays they introduce it to the public through Hollywood and through media, between 10 and 15 years ahead of time, okay? So what you're seeing in the movies today, if you see some advanced weapon or some advanced technology in the movies today, okay, in about 10 to 15 years from now, you're going to see it as a reality in your life. But just remember that when it comes out, okay, when you get some amazing technology that comes out on the market today, it has been out and utilized by the government and military around the world for at least 10 or 15 years, but they introduce it slowly so that we accept it.
So you're talking about movies like Minority Report and Deja Vu.
Sure, and Transformers and Avatar and all these things,
Right. During your time with the delinquent children, 'cause that's what I call them, were you ever trained or had any knowledge of Sasquatch?
They did not go into any of that, no. Anything that I know about that is through personal study. I myself have had no personal interactions or sightings of them. I know they're out there, but like I said, I have no direct experience with them.
Your teacher and mentor, did he ever discuss anything like that with you?
Oh, he would talk about a lot of other species, other creatures that walk this earth that are not easily seen by the modern human. And he would also talk about the ability of them to access different vortexes in the land, to be able to come and go between two different realities.
Okay. Something that I've heard that, you know, my brain is randomizing right now because there's so much information I could cover with you right now. I have heard from other sources, and I stress the word heard because I don't put validity into something unless I have experience or there's evidence to show. So what I have heard from other people who have been in places similar to you is that they can tell what soul is coming into a body and begin manipulating that body based on what soul is coming in. Is there any validity to that, or do you know of anything about that?
Yes, that is absolute fact. They know what soul personality is going to come into a body, and they have frequency readers today. Every single human being on the face of the earth has a unique frequency, unique to their person. And these frequency readers, much like a fingerprint, are downloaded into computers, okay, mainframe computers, and stored. They're logged in there. They actually have frequency readers now that can be mounted on helicopters. So if there is somebody they're looking for in the mountains, you know, and you can't get land crews in there or it takes too much time, they can actually put frequency readers, log in the frequency of the individual they're looking for, and fly through the mountains with this frequency reader to locate them. So this is very much reality. They do know they are able to somehow track soul personalities coming into the body, but they cannot begin the mind control or conditioning process until the child is actually born. It cannot be done in the womb. A lot of people have a misconception that ultrasounds these days are mind controlling the fetuses. This is not possible. This process can only begin once the child is born.
Okay.
But White Wolf, in what we're talking about mind control, the very issue of trauma, and I'm told when a lot of the women go and see, when they're pregnant, they go see the doctor, and what you're talking about ultrasound, isn't that just at the beginning stages of torture and to create a trauma for that child, and when it is born, that they're ready to be manipulated?
That's exactly correct. It doesn't begin the mind control process, but it begins the preparation, the electronic and mental preparation process to allow the child to be susceptible to these influences once they are born. And of course, that's combined with the chemicals and stuff that are in foods and waters today, too.
So,
and the air. Yes.
My thoughts on this, or my feelings on this, is that you're part of more than one network yourself, and there's a ongoing effort to put this to an end. Am I getting the right feeling on this?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Good.
Yes. There was always hope, always.
So it's a good thing that I invited you to my show, and we are helping to raise awareness right now, are we not?
We are.
That's a big part of what I do, is awareness.
And precisely, so on that note there, gentlemen, that's where what you're doing, White Wolf, in the programs that you are providing is for people to make that journey within. So maybe we, on this next segment, is maybe we can talk about that aspect. Yes, we're entering into the light. There is hope. So can you expand on that and explain to the listeners about that?
Yes. You know, the only hope we have of changing the world is going within each of us individually and changing what we don't like inside of us to attain balance and reconnect to the spiritual aspect of the self. This is the only hope. You can go to protests, you can go to movements, you can go to rallies. None of it does anything. Okay? You can send every penny you own to disaster relief funds, and it's not going to help the world, because we create the world from what is inside of us. Therefore, to change the world, we have to go within and change what we find there first. This is a part of the enlightening process. This is a part of the hope. Making people aware of this connection, the inner-outer connection, and then helping guide people inside themselves and showing them that this is the true power that they have. This is the only power that we have, the ability to change the self. And everything outside us is a reflection of what is inside us.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm told, according to the ancient teachings and also the elders, is they pronounce exactly the aspect that our bodies, the way that they were created, is actually transmitters or receivers to tap in this energy. Could you explain the characteristics of our bodies?
Our bodies, basically, everything is an illusion. Everything is a part of the Great Spirit, and the Great Spirit is whole. There is no separation, but the Great Spirit, the part of all creation that is physical, is minute in comparison to the vast expanse of existence. And so our bodies are simply an illusionary outpicturing of our soul personality. And our soul personality holds mind patterns. Mind patterns that are unique to us, that only we being a single facet of the Great Spirit, can experience, can actually interact with all existence. And so the bodies are created by our minds, and our bodies are driven by our minds. They're created in a way that fit what we need to experience in this physical reality. So the body itself is simply a transmitter, a halfway, a go-between the mind pattern, the soul personality, and physical experience. And the body is a way of bringing those together.
So my understanding then is that we're spiritual beings occupying a physical body that were created because of our parents, 23 chromosomes from our father, 23 chromosomes from our mother. And so in reality, I guess it's just our body's just a spacesuit, or am I correct in that?
But just a what? A space what?
Like
A spacesuit or a body that we've been given just to occupy in this physical reality?
Yes, that's really all it is.
So if I'm perceiving this correctly, or accurately, I should say, they cannot influence or manipulate the soul. All they can do is manipulate or influence the physical body or skin suit. Would that be an accurate assessment?
They can manipulate your mind, and your mind is in control of who and what you are. Therefore, they can manipulate your mind in such a way that when you die, they can actually trap you in the astral plane. Okay, they can prevent you from moving on to where you go. And I saw this because when I was poisoned, I did actually die. And this is all in my book. And I was actually brought back to life. And during that time, as I was leaving my body, I could see the channel that I was rising out of the top of my head in, and I could see the white light and the white area that was around me. The white is the astral plane. And, this is where the central government actually is able to guide people astray guide them to the white light. And once you're in the white light, you are trapped there until you are actually put back into a physical body because they have a purpose for you.
Yes.
Instead of allowing the spirit to naturally rise, back into its place. So even though you're not able to control the soul itself, you can create such havoc in the mind that you can manipulate or control where the individual decides to go.
So this is where they used religion for that specific purpose, and the very philosophy or their dogma is to make us believe that we are sinners.
Yes,
Or
that creates low self-worth, which leaves you open to influences that they present.
Exactly.
Religion is mind control. Spirituality is personal freedom.
Yep. So, is there any truth to a lot of people in their out-of-body experience or their near-death experience, exactly what happened to you, is that the place that they couldn't go beyond is what they call the Van Allen belt? Are you familiar with that?
I have not heard that term, no.
Yeah, well, this is... yeah, go ahead, Tom.
That's the asteroid belt out there beyond Mars, correct, Gerald?
Yes,
That's the Kuiper's belt.
Okay, the Kuiper's belt, okay.
And exactly what you were talking about, that we seem to be held as a prisoner within this physical body when we're sent back after our near-death experience or whatever. It's being manipulated by the forces outside of ourselves that we have no control over. And I guess that's basically the reason why they want to keep us suppressed and oppressed to a point. And when you were mentioning something about the pineal gland and also the fluoride that they put into the water is to dumb down people, is that correct?
Yes, it is, especially combined with extra low frequencies. Extra low frequencies also help to basically stupefy the mind and the ability to perceive on a very clear level what is happening around people. So before a major global event happens, perhaps a planned earthquake or a beginning of a war or whatever, they will bombard those areas of the earth with extra low frequency to basically stupefy people so that they don't react in a more normal context and go into rioting and whatnot.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you mentioned something about the three levels of consciousness, be it subconscious, our conscious mind, or the superconscious. And they also manipulated that superconscious level with a UHF and a VHF frequency. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So could you elaborate a little bit on the listeners so that try to explain it in common terms so that they can understand?
If you can, all right, when you're talking about the super consciousness, you're focusing again on the pineal gland, okay? Because
Correct.
if you, and if we can manipulate the pineal gland, if we can, what some people have been terming calcify the pineal gland.
Yes, yes.
What happens is it seals off that brain balance. And so what they do is they utilize frequency. And they also utilize, like I said, everything is made up of frequency. So they specifically create something that can generate a specific frequency that can be then targeted into the population. They combine this with chemicals in food, water, air, and earth, and the effects Okay, it's like a science project. It's like taking, a base and an acid and mixing them together. What happens? They explode. Okay, so if you take certain frequencies and certain chemicals and you combine them in the body, they will target a specific area of the body. Okay, just like any drug or any herb that you might be taking, any medicine, they target specific areas of the body. So frequency and chemical combinations, specifically concocted, target the pineal gland, and it numbs it, and it begins a calcification process. It hardens it. Okay, it makes it harder for people to tap into that super consciousness. And if you can keep people out of that zone of their power, well, you've got them. They're trapped.
Yeah.
Well, something that I wanted to ask you along the lines, I have a rough idea, but I wanted to ask you, what is their ultimate agenda with all this?
The ultimate agenda, there's actually a number right now, but the main one that is being pushed very strongly is to control the global population by bringing into the existence a global currency, which will then bring about full control of what people can buy and how people can live, because of course what you can buy is how you live. It depends, it will show you what you can buy for food, where you can live, what kind of tools you can have, what kind of house you can have, your clothing, education, everything relies on what you can buy, what you can purchase. So if you can control the monetary system globally speaking, you control the world and how it works. They also want to bring about a global government. Okay? A global government will then have global laws, global governing, and so you won't have the feuds that you have now. You'll be able to take a head power and easily control and manipulate the masses. Right now, we have a lot of dissension between all the countries, between what governments are doing and what the populations are doing, about the different so-called Illuminati families that are bickering among each other, on and on and on. But if we can get a global government, then we can have a center global control unit. And then, of course, they want to bring in what is known as the New World Religion, which is a global religion. This, of course, is translated to global mind control. Everybody being controlled under the same laws and regulations, the same belief systems. And that religion, of course, would be based upon the reptilian aspect of belief. Ritual sacrifices, blah, 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 blah. And so really it is about creating a dominant control system on the planet so that the few can easily control and manipulate the masses.
So I'm guessing all this really starts with choice. So if people say no, this is not acceptable, they've made their choice. And when you have half the population of the world saying no, it kind of puts a dampener on things for them, doesn't it?
It does, but not unless those people are going within and doing their work within. If you're just saying, no, I'm not going to do this, well, they can just go in and take you out. It doesn't matter to them. They have far more power than we do when it comes to brute strength. Okay? The military, the weaponry. So if you stand up and say, no, I'm not doing this, but you don't go within and work on your own spiritual aspect, your own mental aspect, your own emotional aspect, it doesn't matter. You're not changing anything. They will just take you out of the picture.
Okay. And so the Occupy movements that are springing up all over the world, are those planned or?
Yes, they're a joke. The Occupy movements that are springing up all over the world, they are planned, and the whole plan is, of course, to dissolve what? The banking system and corporations. Well, has anybody stopped to think what would replace the banking systems and corporations?
Credit.
Yeah.
Credits on your computer.
Yeah, a global monetary system and a global control system. They want them to escalate into violence so that they can declare martial law, so that TSA and everybody else can impose such tight rules and regulations over the entire population that nobody can breathe or move anymore. And that is exactly what is happening, and that is what this Occupy Wall Street is all about.
What I find humorous is going back and watching movies from the late 90s. If you watch The Longest Goodnight, the CIA director said to Samuel L. Jackson, he said, well, unfortunately, I can't fake killing 4,000 people, so I'll just have to do it for real.
Yeah.
And then on 9/11 in 2001, we had 4,000 people die in the World Trade Center. I'm like, wow. And then you had Enemy of the State with Will Smith, and the senator in that movie was trying to get warrantless phone tapping and all sorts of other things. And then, in 2003, I guess it was, the Patriot Act was passed, so now you can just tap anybody's phone.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They show it to you first so that you get desensitized and familiar with it, and then they slowly roll it into your reality, and now it's not a shock. Now it's like, oh, yeah, that was in that movie, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, that was kind of neat. Wow, look, now it's here.
Yeah, one aspect in regards to this, the New World Agenda, is that the whole military might. So over time in gradualism, and when they tried to create the League of Nations, and after World War II, they created the United Nations for that specific purpose, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's exactly what the United Nations is for. The United Nations is the center, the headquarters for a global military structure.
Yes, in New York, but the headquarters of United Nations is in Geneva, Switzerland.
Yes,
so,
that's right. And like I was saying,
the
with the
agenda
Fourth
of the
Reich
New
and
World
the Swiss.
Order, regarding this whole thing, when you were talking about Nazism coming after World War II into the United States and all parts of the world, is in the United States they created the CIA, the FBI, NASA, and the FCC. And they were put there to protect the bloodline, the satanic bloodline. Am I correct in that?
Yes, also the NSA.
Yes, the NSA, the National Security Agency, yes.
Yep.
So the politics that are being... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it all comes down to bloodline. Okay? It is all traced back through the bloodline, and they believe, of course, that, much like Hitler, it's what's in the blood. If it's in your blood, then you are born into this right. If it's not in your blood, then you're not born into this right, and you are born into a life of slavery and servitude. So bloodline has a huge thing to do with it. Look at the number 666. What do most people assimilate that with?
I think it means the devil.
Exactly. 666 has nothing to do with the devil. You know what 666 is?
Has everything to do with humanity.
It has everything to do with the bloodline. There are 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons.
Exactly.
In the molecular structure of the carbon atom in our blood.
Correct.
Our blood is carbon-based. That is where 666 comes from. It all comes down to bloodline.
What's interesting about that is if you multiply 6 times 6 times 6, you get 216. And if you look at string theory, any iteration of that number, it's along that same string. So 2,160 nautical miles is the diameter of the moon, and 21,600 nautical miles is the diameter of Earth.
So everything that you're saying then, Tom and White Wolf, is it has to be proportional to creation the way things are. But to manipulate that for your own agenda is you have to upset the apple cart, so to speak. And what David Icke says, problem, reaction, solution. So they operate through chaos. So everything has the mere effect. Alice in Wonderland.
What's really
Taking you
interesting
far
is,
deeper. The White Rabbit is taking you deeper into their agenda. And the more deeper yeah, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say what's even interesting on top of that, and we know there's no such thing as coincidence, but to go through a full procession of the equinox, their equinox, it takes 25,920 years. But if you multiply that, or divide that rather, by the 12 signs in the zodiac, the number 12, each sign of the zodiac takes 2,160 years to go through.
Well, you like those numbers, huh?
So it's just the iteration of numbers. I mean, what do numbers reveal? I mean, if you take the corresponding number to the letter in the alphabet, the word Bible, B times I times B times L times E equals 2160.
How uncanny, huh?
It's all right there.
Every number has a frequency, and every
Right.
frequency has a meaning.
So on that note then, gentlemen, there's the three aspects of it, isn't it? The light, the sound, and vibration. They manipulate that to their agenda.
Yes.
Working towards the one world government, and that is exactly what they want to see done, right?
Yes, that is exactly what they want to see done, and that is, that is what I did for 13 years when I was working for them. That is exactly, every single piece they do, that is what it is working towards.
If you hang on a second, both of you gentlemen will hang on. There's a caller that's coming on. I think I know who this is. If it's the same caller as it was last week, I'm just going to hang up. So let's bring him on and give him a chance to ask a question here. Okay, area code 287. You're on the air.
Oh, son of a gun. You thought I was going to say son of a bitch, didn't you?
I'm sorry. It was getting a little too deep, so I had to throw some humor in there.
Oh, actually, on that note, I am running out of time here.
Are you? Well,
Yes, I am.
When you say that, I hear a voice in the back of my head, and that voice is saying,
"You underestimate the power of the dark side."
No, as a matter of fact, I was in it. I don't underestimate it.
Well, White Wolf, it's been an absolute pleasure having you come and discuss these things with us. It raises our own awareness, and anybody who's listening in the live show or in archives, it raises their awareness as well, so they can look for these things and see it when it comes over the TV or over the radio, or see it happen right in front of them. They're aware of it.
Well, I tell you, Thomas, that is what I really try to do with the time that I have been given here. I do my very best to try to regain or reclaim balance in my life, because my balance has definitely been disrupted for many years, and I think awareness, is key. And I do not have the information I have to curl up in a hole, hide in a closet, and keep my mouth shut. So I stand up, I say what I have to say, and for those who want to listen, wonderful, thank you. I hope you take it into your own lives and make the changes that only you can make with your own unique spirit, your own unique mind and perspective on reality. And for those of you who do not want to listen, it's simply because you're not yet ready. And maybe one day you will be. But in the meantime, everybody walks their own path in their own unique way, in their own unique light, and it is all meant to be as it is. So there is always hope.
Yes, there is. And if you don't mind me asking...
On that note, White Wolf, could you, if people are interested, do you have an email address and or a phone number that if they want to get in contact? Because
I put the link to his website in the chat room, in the description for the show, Gerald, and in the chat room. So
okay,
people can just go to his website, and there's a contact information right there.
Yeah, on the website, if you go to contact information, you can find a phone number and email address, and also P.O. Box. So yes, all the stuff is right there, definitely.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't see the show description or aren't able to get there, the website is wavesofthewildinstitute.com. You can just go there, and maybe if you're lucky enough, White Wolf will talk to you, just like it did to me.
I would love to. It has been a pleasure.
Now, if you don't mind me asking you one personal question, you don't have to answer this, but would you mind telling us your age, physical age?
I am 39.
39, okay.
Yes.
39 trips around the sun. That's, wow, you've lived a lot of life in 39 years, haven't you?
I have, and my body has let me know it every single day.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
They just a quick question. I know I keep throwing more questions at you. I wish you didn't have to go right now, but
I can always come back.
well, that's right. But have they done things to people to make sure they can't do what they came here to do?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
that explains some of the things that have happened in my life, because I was never part of the military, the government in any way, shape, or form, but a lot of things have happened to me that have put me where I'm at now, and I can't say it's been a very enjoyable roller coaster ride, but I still have my seatbelt on, so.
That's good, and we have the choice of free will, so we can always adapt, and that is really what I teach in my school. That is what survival is all about. It is about mastering the art of adaptation.
Yes. Well, with that, I'm not going to ask you any more questions. I'm going to contact you, though, very soon, and we'll talk some more off the air, and maybe have another show very soon if you're able to do so.
Absolutely. I would love to. I am here. You know where to find me. So, yeah, give me a holler anytime.
All right. I certainly appreciate you being here today, so we'll talk to you soon, yeah?
All right. It was a pleasure talking to both of you.
Before you leave, I want to ask one final question. You
Yes.
said that your mentor and your spiritual teacher belonged to the Lenape people.
Yes.
If correct, is that the book, what you call the Red Record? Is a history of the Lenape people?
Yes. As far as the authenticity of that book, I truly cannot say. I have not had the privilege of seeing the whole thing. If somebody out there has a copy or whatever, and they want to share, I would be interested in looking through it. But yes, that is what is said to be the connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the book is called the Red Record. And I imagine, yes, you probably can access it through the internet.
Okay, I will look it up, definitely. Because I do know that there's also a book out there that claims to be the record of the Lenape, all written out in Walam Olam, which is the pictograph form of writing they have. And I know Mitch Gillane taught me different aspects of the Walam Olam that I still know today. But I have not been able to get a copy of that book, which is supposedly the record either. So there's a lot of information out there that you really have to weed through to find out what is fact or fiction, or a little bit of both.
So
There's
the
a lot of-
Lenape people, are you connected at all with the Abenakis of Eastern Canada and the United States?
I am actually living An hour and a half from the Abenaki headquarters, and Chief Amy I have met a couple times.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's exciting.
Yeah, she's up in Swanton.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small
Yeah.
world, isn't it?
It is indeed. Depends on your perspective at any moment, I guess, huh?
Well, that's
Yes, it
right.
is.
So I will be in touch with you soon because I want to let him get off, Gerald. And this is
Yes,
the point
by
where we
all
call
means, yes.
we don't call him Gerald White Horse Standing. We call him Gerald White Horse in the Mud at this point. Okay. So. And if I didn't know him so well, I wouldn't be able to say that. But anyway, yeah, we would love to have you back again and pick your brain on some of these things and see what else you can make us aware of, because we really need to be aware of it.
Indeed.
Wonderful. I would be honored.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon. And you have a great weekend.
Yes, you have a good evening yourself.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So, wow, that I had no expectations for how the show would go, and I just have to say that's why I'm always surprised. Had no idea that any of this was going to be said, and I really wanted him back again.
Indeed. Indeed, because, yes, as you said before, with this kind of information that we can have access to, is we can see the bigger picture as it unfolds, and he explained himself quite good in regards to that, and I'm glad that he did. So, of course, and all through the radio program that I did with you, that's exactly what we try to make people aware of. And there's a lot of interesting people like White Wolf that we just talked to, and it was a pleasure to have him on the radio.
Yes. Yes, it was. Well, we kept him longer than I expected, and we still got a few minutes left. But I want to go ahead and wrap the show up, Gerald, and if you don't mind, I'll call you after we get the show over, so and we can let our heads spin together, because my head's going completely around. I mean, the only thought that comes into my head right now is this.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
See, that's the only thought that comes into my head right now after everything that was revealed to us tonight. And it just goes hand in hand with what we've heard from Dave Corso and Duncan O'Finian. And wow, that's all I can say is wow.
Indeed. That is true.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and take the show out.
Sure.
And I just want to let everybody know that we're setting up a answering service for these people when they go into a panic state, because pretty soon she's going to be on the other foot, and we've already got a hotline set up for them. So this is what the answering machine or IVR will say when they call into the line to talk to us. Here it is right here.
Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Hotline. If you are obsessive-compulsive, press 1 repeatedly. If you are codependent, ask someone to press 2 for you. If you have multiple personalities, press 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you are paranoid, we know what you are and what you want. Stay on the line and we'll trace your call. If you're delusional, press 7 and your call will be transferred to the mothership. If you are schizophrenic, listen carefully and a small voice will tell you which number to press. If you're depressive, it doesn't matter which number you press, no one will answer you. If you're dyslexic, press 69696969. If you have a nervous disorder, please fidget with the hash key until the beep. After the beep, please wait for the beep. If you have a short-term memory loss, please try your call again later. And if you have low self-esteem, hang up. All our operators are too busy to talk to you.
Well, that's the hotline for these people should they decide to call us when things start to go bad on their end. And I hope everyone has enjoyed the show. I want to thank all of you for being here. And I really want to thank the people that listen to the show in archive, especially in New Zealand and Australia and over there in Europe. We do this show so that everybody can hear and know and be aware. Not believe, but know. So, with that, I hope everyone has a great weekend and a better week next week, and we are climbing the mountain, so to speak. So, hang in there, folks. It's only going to get better from here. It has to. It can only go that way. So until Wednesday night, when Gerald and I are back, we'll be doing Buffalo Talk, and I have no idea who the guest is or guests will be on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central, but I hope everybody can make it to the show or at least catch it in archive. And if you have any questions, please send them to my name here on Blog Talk Radio, which is Sasquatch Spirit, or email me at Thomas H as in Henry 515 at hotmail.com. Until then, until Wednesday night, everybody have a great time.